Broker Bulletin acknowledges the traditional custodians of all the lands across the country on which we record our podcast and pays its respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Welcome to the Broker Bulletin podcast, where better begins. Join us as we chat with brokers about what's working for them, what drives them, and the real challenges and wins that matter most right now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Broker Bulletin. I'm Grace Ormsby, and time flies when you're having fun. We are at our last regularly programmed episode for 2025. It's been a pretty incredible year. All the broker stories that we've been hearing, all the successes, all the trials, all the tribulations, all the things that people have put in place to overcome those and really grow stronger, better businesses as a result of it. And one person who's been pretty popular on this show for the past year is none other than Alberto Gorgioski. So I thought I would bring him back for our last episode to get a little bit of an insight into how we can be looking ahead using this December and January down period to our advantage. Alberto, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me back, and I really appreciate the popular tagline as well. So it's good to be back.
I mean, I did go a little bit short of you getting the number one episode. I didn't want to make your head too big too early in this episode, but you are the most listened to person on this show, so kudos for that.
It's one of the top achievements, I think, in the last 12 months at least.
Massive round of applause for that. You are the Associate Director of New South Wales and ACT for Loan Market, and you're having these conversations with brokers every day. I'm sure I'm really interested to hear what some of the things are that you are hearing at this point in time as we go into that December period when people probably just want a break. I don't know, are they feeling frazzled? Are they excited? Are they stressed?
Yeah, I've been in this industry for the last 10 years working with brokers, businesses, and one thing I always like to tell myself, it's, the end of the year this year is going to be different. We're going to be far better prepared. And unfortunately or fortunately, it's the same. Everyone's just driving so hard to that end of year break. Frazzled is definitely a word that we'll be using. A lot of officers will be feeling the pump. The lenders do also shut down. And sometimes those business plans kind of go outside the window at this time of the year because not for the lack of not wanting to do it. It's more so that, you're just running so hard and trying to be so quick. So, yeah, I think it's a common theme. I think what we're seeing is, businesses are performing really strongly. The consumer market has also, I think, sparked some interest. That there's been a lot of schemes come into play as well that has increased the consumer market. So, yeah, I think everybody's feeling it. You said it, excited, tired, and I think ready for that Christmas break.
We're recording this episode on the cusp of December. When this episode goes live, we will be in December, which means really 3 weeks left of the year. What do people need to be doing if they're not already to make sure that they're setting themselves up at this point? Because there's people that are going to be out there just thinking, I've just got to get through to the end of the year. But I feel like it's the perfect time to really be resetting and looking ahead to 2026 to put your best foot forward there.
Yeah, and look, you raise such a good point. Whether you're in a business with multiple brokers or support staff, or you are your one-man band really trying to knuckle down for Chris, I think it's important to put a day in between these next 3 weeks to kind of say, okay, I am going to spend, call it half a day on the business, looking at it from a top balcony view. And I like to use an analogy. A lot of the time we're on the dance floor, right, where it's busy. We don't really get to see anything else outside. We're just rushing and having a good dance. I actually would employ business owners to stop for a second, jump on that balcony view and have a look down at the business. They really look at the key pillars of what's going to drive your business into that final 6 months of the financial year and in that first start of the calendar year. So it's definitely, I think, what I would say to people is just stop, take a day, plan, just to make sure that you hit the ground running upon your return.
Taking a day and planning are huge things, but some people might be listening to that going, that's all well and good, but how do I actually go?
Yeah. It's a very good call out. Look, I think simplify it, right? Focus on the four key pillars of your business. The way we like to drive our business plans at Low Market, it's really focusing on your business sales goals. So having a look at your lodgements, approvals and settlements, where they are up to date, and what are you trying to execute to your last 6 months of the fin year. The other part is look at your customer acquisition strategy. And how are you leveraging the period of the holidays to be able to get more people looking at your business? Do you come back in Jan and focus on some referral partnerships? Do you go hard on marketing, whether it is via local activations within your community or online? I think the other part that's missed quite often is have a look at your process. Spend this time where, during the shutdown, where you can look at your process and your customer experience strategy. How does that look like? Do you have a bespoke journey for when customers reach out to your business? How's your post-settlement process? I think you can spend some time on that. I think the last key pillar is look at your growth strategy. Growth strategy is quite a broad word, but really look at your team, your staff. If you are a bigger business, where do you see growth potential? Is it promotions internally? Is it bringing new people into your business? If you are that one-man band or somebody just with one admin assistant, think about their journey and think about the journey moving forward. Does scaling mean getting one more person on? Is it upskilling the person that you have in your business? I think if you really focus on those four key pillars, I think you're going to cover a vast majority of your business.
Those four key pillars, I'll get you to list them again, because for anyone who hasn't been taking notes like I have been doing here, that's actually how you can set up that session.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, for sure. It's so just to repeat it, business sales goals focused on lodgements, your approvals and your settlements, your customer acquisition strategy, your process and customer experience strategy, and then finally your growth strategy.
Really foolproof if you haven't sat down and done one of these before. You mentioned team as well, Alberto. Do you bring them into this session? Do you do it by yourself first?
Yeah, it's such a common question. Look, I think there's no right answer to it. I think you can have, I really see it as a two-pronged approach here. You can do it behind closed doors with your co-directors or senior managers within your business, where you strategize the top-level key pillars, those four key pillars that you want to attack. And then you can have a strategy day with your team where you bring them along that journey. Ultimately, there's no reason why you can't have your team define what that approach is going to be as well. So I think the vast two differences are sometimes you might have a bit of a junior team, or you might have a team that, right now, especially, it's maybe a bit difficult to take them out of the business. But also noting it can be a really good exercise to bring everyone along the journey.
And I want to call out again that prioritizing this is so important.
It is, yeah. Look, and I always say, if it's not in your calendar, let's face it, you're probably not going to do it this time of the year. If your calendar is anything like mine, and I'm sure brokers out there are probably worse. You got your morning sales meetings, you got customer meetings in there, you got some admin time. You're waiting on hold to the banks. If it's not in your calendar, unfortunately, it will drop off, and that becomes a priority, or that can that you kick down the road, and all of a sudden you're back from your break, you're ramping up, and you realise, we haven't done it. February, March will come around really quickly. So the biggest tip for me, pop it in your calendar. And a good idea, have a strategy day during the day, call it, for 3-4 hours. Do your Christmas party afterwards with your team. Or I think that's a really good way to get that interaction of, hey, come in, let's smash this out. Let's set ourselves up for that new year. And then let's go enjoy and have a few drinks and a bite to eat.
I really love, Alberto, the premise of doing all this before you do have that break. It feels like a really good way to do that reset before you actually get to that point as well, because let's be honest, it is so hard when you come back from a break you might be excited, you might be motivated, but it's a bit like, well, where were we? where do we pick up from?
It's so interesting in our industry as well. It's the momentum. So you come back, everybody comes back from that Chrissy break feeling, pumped, excited, rejuvenated. But I don't think the consumer market comes back as such. The consumer market, I think, is still in that holiday stage. A lot of brokers will be coming back mid-Jan, where our consumers are probably still on break, school holidays with the kids. So I think if we don't come in fired up with a execution plan in mind, we're at risk of actually wasting January. Like I always say this, when you look at the calendar year, we set up our business plans to cover a 12-month period. But realistically, you look at December being a bit short, Jan, people are away. Then you got Easter. That's quieter traditionally in our industry. And then you also then put in a couple of weeks of school holidays throughout the year. We're actually trying to execute to a 12-month plan in 9 months. And now if the risk of trying to do all of this without a plan becomes practically impossible. So I always say it does bring a sense of security. But I think what it also does, if you do have a team, it not only brings you comfort as a business owner, it brings your team comfort. They know, I think we can all contest to it. There's nothing worse coming back into the office after the new year and going, what am I doing today? So I think if you do have that defined plan, it makes it simpler for the whole organization to be able to come back. And if you are a one-man band, it allows you to be a little bit motivated. Look, I've been there. You come back from your break and you're like, gosh, an extra week wouldn't hurt. But I think if you got that from day one, where you're like, hold on, I had my strategy planned out in December. I do have to start executing on those 4 key pillars. Where do I start? So it kind of gives you that little kick to really drive into the new year.
What I'm getting from that as well, and I'm skipping over, I guess, that break period, that Christmas, New Year, to going to that January period for now, but I'll come back to it, is that what we're really saying too is if you've got that strategy planned in from December, then you're coming back on day one, you're going to have time because consumers are still off. Your customers probably aren't going to be reaching out to you. That will give you that time and space to be able to do those things that you need to do to set yourself up.
I see this a lot of the time. A good friend of mine, Michael Karpathikis at Low Market, runs the Elevate program, and he does this really well with these elite businesses that enter that program. I guess the premise of it all is planning. The premise of it all is using your time effectively as well. Even to the simplest form, when MK does his catch-ups with the business partners, they're 15-minute blocks in calendars, not 30 minutes. It's that effective time use, right? And again, reverting it back to this, I see it from businesses that are in Elevate. It's utilizing when the consumer market may be a bit slow to come back to it. So to your point, having that plan ready, you knowing that it might be slower in Jan, well, that can actually propel your business into some really good momentum coming into Feb and March. The risk of not doing it that way is that, again, like we said, you're kind of in limbo in Jan, time it all starts kicking off in Feb. You're not really settling loans until mid-Feb and March, which becomes a bit of a risk. So definitely, I agree. Knowing that your consumer market may not be red hot and firing upon the return in Jan, use that time effectively.
For that January plan and bringing that team along, like you talked about, whether or not you have them sitting in that first session or whether you bring them in later, what are some of the best strategies you have seen to really bring everyone together, apart from obviously a Christmas party, but how can you task people or empower them to help lift that business and get them ready for January too?
It's a really good call out. I'll touch on whether you're a sole operator or operator with one as well, and a larger business. I think for the larger businesses at times, I think they either go too left or too right, too left on the values, core and vision, where people don't have defined KPIs or don't have a target that they want to reach. Or they go too far to the right, where it's all about targets and KPIs. I think where I really see it executed in a really smooth fashion is somewhere in the middle. Now, of course, that's a pretty, on the fence answer from me, but you want people to be driven by the vision of the business, but you're not going to have a vision of the business if you haven't done your plans. But also think that you need to give them some drive in what their executable metrics are. So if you've got brokers in your business, give them a clear, defined outline of how many customers do they need to speak to, thinking front of funnel, what do they need to convert, what do they need to bring into the business. And for your admin support staff, do they have a customer NPS score attached to their journey? What does that look like for them? If you're a one-man band or a person with a singular member in the business, think about this time also. It's just a side note. Think about it for a growth period. I've been working with Talent Force. It's our internal team at Low Market where they hire for our businesses. And India McCulloch does a fantastic job in these periods as well, where we're thinking about hiring for the future, not for the moment. So utilizing this key period as well, like we've said, thus far, knowing the consumer market might be a little bit slower, is it a time where you think about your next hire or your first hire? You can utilize these key quieter times, a couple of weeks to prepare an onboarding manual for your new employee, looking at KPIs, looking at the future as well. So don't brush that to the side. Or even if you're looking at hiring somebody overseas, I think a lot of the times, a lot of businesses are a bit nervous when it comes to using international support, whether it's in the Philippines or Nepal. But if you think about it, if you don't use this time now, you're not going to do it when you're busy. You're not going to do it when you're in the trenches, right? That's when the franticness kicks in. So I think the most important part of all of it is just making sure you're tailoring it to your current team, vision, KPIs, and if you're a one-man band, thinking about your own business and the future of bringing someone in. I think that will be my wrap there.
I'm going to zoom out slightly, but stay on that topic because I do think that is such a great point to make, Alberto, that, it's hard when people are in this slower period. Their financials aren't maybe looking as strong. That should already be factored in. You should be thinking about that. But it's hard then to conceptualize paying other staff members at that point in time when you go, but it is slow at this time of year. I don't know if we can really justify it. But as you say, put all the resources in place so that you then can, maybe you are ready to at that point in time, maybe it's going to be 6 months down the track. But on that point, I'm curious, and it's a conversation I know that the team over at LMG Outsource are grappling with a lot too, is when do you actually know you're ready to be growing? And what do the conversations look like for the teams that you are seeing? And what point do they need to get to for them to go, okay, now's the point?
If I had the blanket answer to that, I'll be really wealthy because I think I'll be able to sell that vision to everybody. Look, I think it comes down to a few key milestones within the business. Now I've said it a million times already in this chat, but you need to have a business plan. You cannot forecast what your business or what you want it to do or what it's going to do without that. So knowing your numbers and outside of P&L, I'm talking your sales numbers here, your customer in, customer out. So that's key number one. You need to have a business plan to know where your business is traveling to. And irrespective of the size of your business, big business, small business, one man band, it's irrelevant. I think that's key. The second part is once you've identified that, and you're trying to hit, call it $100 million in settlements, always look at how is your process and customer experience strategy laid out. Now, different businesses, different designs, but do you have somebody there to make sure that when a customer comes to your business, they're getting a bespoke experience and one that can be repeated to referrals and other people that come to your business? I always say this, when you think about the large corporation models like McDonald's, for example, you can get a Big Mac anywhere in the world and the process is pretty similar. You drive up, you order it, you pick it up, you know exactly what you're getting. Now, that experience may not be a 10 out of 10, but guess what? As a consumer, I know what I'm getting. How do we bring that into small business? If I refer my friend or my family member to you, how do I get that awesome customer experience throughout the business? So again, key pillar number 2, is your business providing that today? And if it's not, is it worthwhile you investing into that? Yes, noting to your point, it may not be the best time financially, but knowing that in the next 6 months, I am going to get there. And I think the last part that we do, and it's a trap that a lot of businesses fall into, we wait to be busy to hire. I find that to be, really the most difficult thing to do, not only for the business owner, but also for the new staff member that you bring into your business. It's normally rushed. The onboarding experience isn't fantastic. They're kind of a bit jaded. They come into this office where, oh no, like everything's blowing up and I need to jump in. So, I don't think that sets off the journey of that new onboard to be really strong and powerful. And I think it actually doesn't showcase the business that well. So, make sure you got these things in play, knowing what is your onboarding process. Are they going to buddy up with somebody in your business? How are they going to receive their training? How are you going to bring people up to speed? I think once you got those 3 key items solidified, take the plunge. I've never heard a business say to me, Al, we hired too early. What I do hear a lot of is, Al, we hired too late. You might feel the pinch for a couple of months, but I can guarantee that you won't regret it because I haven't heard it. Take the plunge. Make sure those 3 key pillars are done, but then go out there, reach out. Like you mentioned, I work really closely with the LMG Broker Force team internally here at Low Market. And then, you can see it. There's businesses, they proactively are hiring 6 months in advance, and they're probably overstaffed sometimes by 2 or 3 people. One of the most difficult things to plan for in the business is the people movement. People come, people go, annual leave, there's maternity leave, paternity leave. There's a lot of things to consider. So working with that team, Liam specifically, you can see some businesses that aren't afraid to just go, you know what, I am going to put 3x staff today, knowing that in 6 or 12 months' time, I'm probably going to need them and more.
I like that you've also framed it as investment. And I know that that is something that good businesses do rather than a cost center.
It's a tough one to battle internally, though.
It brings it forward as well to what we're talking about through January, and you've got that plan in place, you're wanting to enact it in January. There are costs involved with making an investment, and that is the life of a business owner, and there's no escaping that. If you want to grow, you need to make investments, and investments cost money. And on that, something you brought up earlier that I wouldn't mind retouching on, Alberto, is around that marketing investment, or that we've talked around the bringing on a new person, but like marketing, local engagement, how to really get in front of your customers and things. And that is probably a missing piece for a lot of people.
It is.
And it's not what people are thinking about at this time. Spring selling season has come and gone. We're not past the Easter point where it's business as usual for the rest of the year. It's probably something that people aren't thinking about proactively, but it's not something that you can do retrospectively either.
Yeah, I think also you don't have to overthink it. Like when you think about marketing, I think we complicate it a little bit too much. Like this is not a fabricated story. I had one of my brokers call me yesterday and say to me, I just had a cafe reach out and they want me to do a local activation, but I'm so unprepared. I'm like, okay, when did they ask for me to do it? Tomorrow. So, yeah, the broker took the opportunity, and it was nerve-wracking. It's like, well, wait, I don't have pamphlets organized. All you need is you. So just go down there and speak to people. I just got a text from that broker this morning. For an hour and a half, we're able to obtain 30 new names, numbers, and emails of customers. And even he wrote that a few of them wanted to have a chat today about some opportunity. Again, not polished, right? We're talking off the cuff, in the community, speaking to people. It doesn't have to be so polished to get a good result. Ultimately, I see Jason Wiley out of Low Market Capital. I'll be visiting his stall tomorrow at the Christmas Festival in Cronulla. It's something that he plans towards. And I mentioned that because, the outlay for Jason is an investment. There's a considerable amount where you rent a stall, and he's doing some giveaways for the kids there, Nintendo Wii as well. And I think what that just shows is it's forward thinking. Jace didn't plan this a few weeks ago. Jace planned this months ago. And Lisa Bradley there, his operations manager, identified this as a really good community-style Christmas stall. So I think there's two ways. Like I've just told you, bipolar opposites of one being very planned and taking a few months, but it's not too late. Like if you're in the first few weeks of December and you've gone, we're a bit quiet, speak to people. I promise you, if you go to your local cafe and say, hey, I'm one of your local brokers and I want to support the community, it's very hard to say, sorry, no. And if they do say no, we're in Australia, we've got 50 cafes everywhere. So, my biggest call out here, it's so simple. Get up off your chair, go out there and just give it a crack. And I promise you'll get some sort of return.
Awesome advice there. So January, just quickly, we've talked through December. We're at January. We're back in the flow. We've done our business planning session in December,
Yep.
So we know what we're doing in January. Is there any other call outs that you want to make for that particular period that people need to be paying attention to?
You've done your business plan. I think what you come back with is don't just come back and assume it's going to happen. I think come back and do a reset. Maybe not on day one, because your team will be looking at you going, I forgot where I put my texter, let alone a business plan. I think maybe week one, just revisit it with your team. And if you're by yourself in the business, pull it up, spend. When I say revisit it with your team, I'm not talking half a day, I'm talking an hour. Hey guys, this is what we left in December in, which was fantastic. Here's the plan that we said we're going to execute to this year. Are we all clear? Put up your hand if you're not. Put up your hand if you have any questions. Realignment, I think, is that key word. Let that ring in your brain upon your return in Jan. Realignment. Do I need to realign myself? Do I need to realign my team? And if you do, beautiful part is it's not going to take a lot. because you've done that preparation in December. You've captured what you needed to capture. And now it's just about, it really is that injection of energy to go execute.
And what would be those priorities then? We've got the pillars, but first week back, get through the first couple of days when you're sitting down. What should those priorities then look like?
Look, it's such a good call. I think for brokers, we're blessed because it's simplified. Customer, customer, customer. If you don't have any, what's the customer experience strategy that you said you're going to execute to in December on your plan? Is it referral partnerships? Pick up the phone and get out to see those referrers. Is it marketing, digital or local? Start doing that. Whether it's a few, trying out a few TikTok videos, Instagram videos, or putting some paid Google ads out there. Ultimately, if it is going into your local community, go do that. For your brokers, it's customer, customer, customer. Start filling up that pipeline and don't have limiting beliefs. Yes, people are at home enjoying prawns and the beer. Give them a call, introduce yourself, and you might not do that application now. But you know what? When they are back into the grind 3 months in, all of a sudden you're helping them out. For admin support stuff and support stuff in the business, make sure they're aligned. Is there a new process that we're working on? Is there something in the business that we're changing? I think if there is, make sure that they're aligned to that goal and make sure that they know what they're executing to and what's the definition of success for them. For the business owners out there, it's really marking yourself and going, have I motivated my team upon their return? And is everybody clear? I think they're two very simple markers to say, well, how's motivation in my office? And is everybody clear on their goal? If you can answer yes to both, I think you're starting the new year really strongly.
Amazing. Perfect call outs there. Love motivation piece. And I think that segues perfectly into just that Christmas, New Year break, whether it's 2 weeks, whether it's 3 weeks. What's your advice to people to get the most out of it, whether it's personal or just getting away from the business, or maybe it is still thinking about it? It's different for everyone.
I think it's a difficult one, right? Because you can do it personal for your own why. I know me, I'm personally driving to the end of the year as hard as I can to enjoy some time with my family. I'm taking a few weeks off at the end of the year. It might be personal or it might be from a sales perspective. Set little goals. You don't need to look at the whole December. What are you achieving? I want to have 3 lodgements each week. I want to finish. I want to at least do 9 lodgements. I want to do 15 lodgements and make microscopic goals throughout that. How many calls do I need to do today? Give yourself little targets to boost that motivation. I need to do 10 calls a day for 5 days. That's 50 calls a week. Getting there and giving yourself that target every single day spruces you up a little bit instead of going, I got another 10 calls to make this week and Christmas is around. I could taste the prawns and the sauce, so just give yourself little targets. And again, I think that rings true whether you're a broker, business owner, for the business owners out there. Don't go too broad. Really tone it down. Think about where do I want my business to finish on at the end of the year. Set yourself that target and execute to it.
And what do you think is the best part about taking a break when all is said and done?
Pre my son, I could name 1,000 things. Now that I got my little boy here, personally, it's always good to just recharge the batteries, take a bit of time outside that business, clear the numbers out of the brain and really give yourself an opportunity to come back excited. From a business perspective, I think it gives everybody that instant release of we can take a breath. So I think it works in both ways. People enjoy it, obviously, these holiday breaks to be with their loved ones. But I think also it does something for the business. It forces a stop and a reset, which I think is so, so important.
Alberto, it's been incredible talking to you about all this today. We probably could have talked for hours and hours more, but you are busy. You've got a pretty crazy end to the year before you get to take that break. And we're going to have so many conversations in the future, I do not doubt. So plenty more insights where they've come from. But key takeaway for me is really just around those 4 key pillars, having that strategy set up. If you've got time in the calendar, if you do not yet, put it in now. Carve out 2-3 hours, 4 hours if you can. Work out what you are needing for January, because then you can give yourself the space to put that time in the calendar in January when things may be a little bit slower, when you're trying to work out how to fill your days. and you've got that bandwidth and that space. And it means you don't have to think about it over Christmas and New Year as well. You might want to, but you also might go, I need to just focus on family for now. So that was the key takeaway for me. There's so many insights in here, though. Make sure if you haven't already been taking notes that you go back, listen again, and take some notes, because there is some absolute gold in there. Before I do let you go, Al, what is one thing that you do every day? What's your little 1%er that makes a huge difference to the way you operate?
Yeah, I think every single day before I start my day, I review my calendar. I make sure I'm clear in what my goals are going to be for the day. Again, mini tasks like, whether I'm in back-to-back meetings or I've got a quieter day, just setting out my day, being clear.
Al, thank you so much for taking the time. I know how busy you are. This was really, really hard to get in the calendar, but I'm so glad we've done it. Really appreciate you.
No, pleasure. If I don't get the second most listened to podcast of the Broker Bulletin, I think I might be a little bit upset. So come on, guys, let's ramp it up.
All right, you've heard it here first. To everyone who is listening along at home, we hope you have enjoyed this episode. Make sure, if you haven't already, you have subscribed to Broker Bulletin on whatever platform that you do listen to your podcasts. If you have any questions, reach out at podcast@lmg.broker. Until next time, stay safe and well, and have a great Christmas and New Year period. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Broker Bulletin. We would hate for you to miss an episode. Subscribe to Broker Bulletin in your favourite podcast app. Has this episode been helpful? We'd love you to rate and review us. It'll help us deliver content that's useful to you and help others discover us. If you have great ideas for topics worth tackling or have burning questions you'd like addressed on an upcoming episode, reach out. Links in the show notes. See you next time.